Joining us now to tell us what he might know on this subject is Congressman Mark Green. He represents Tennessee, and he's the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee. Sir, good to have you back with us.
Yeah, Vince, good to be back with you.
I don't know how government officials can tell us there's no threat of any kind if they simultaneously say they have no idea who's operating them.
Well, what they're saying is they don't know that any harmful intent is happening with these. So what they're saying is we don't have any knowledge about it, so therefore there's no known, but they can't guarantee that there's no bad thing happening with these drones. So that's all about phraseology with these guys.
Yeah, it is, and we've detected that. So, Congressman, what is happening here? We've been hearing these reports of drones hovering over the country like this, huge vehicle-sized drones for going on a little over 3 weeks now. What is happening to your knowledge?
So again, to find out what each individual drone is doing, you have to capture that drone and then backwards hack its tracking and what it's reported, where the controller is. All of this information you have to physically get the drone. There's some classified stuff I can't go into, but I will say that literally you pretty much have to have the drone to figure out what they're doing with the drone. They haven't caught any of these drones because local law enforcement doesn't have the authority to mitigate drones, to track drones. That's the big issue here. And DHS is obviously not, they're probably camping in New Jersey now, but when you initially see these, they're not there to grab them, or to bring them down. So what we're doing right now in Congress is I have a bill that would grant the authority to local law enforcement under certain circumstances to use qualified, counter drone mechanisms that would then allow them to get the drones and figure out what they are. Well, what we do know is that in California, a Chinese national was arrested following his flight of a drone over a U.S. military base. So we do know that espionage is happening with drones. Do we know specifically about what's happening in New Jersey? No, because we hadn't got one in the drones yet.
Congressman, what federal agency can take down a drone? Who has the authority to do that?
DOJ and DHS both have the authority, and of course DOD has the authority to defend too. So those three agencies have the ability. They have both the ability and the authority to do so. Now, I will say that DOJ and DHS's authorities are expiring, but we will get that renewed before the end of the year. Even if my bill that advances those authorities to local law enforcement doesn't pass, I think it has a chance. If not, it'll pass. We'll extend the current authorities and pass it right away in January. But we got to get the authority to do this and the capability to do this down to the local level.
Is it really only like looking at the physical hardware that we can establish the path of these drones? It would seem to me that there's got to be a million different ways to track air traffic, including satellite coverage, radars, airplanes that are dedicated to this kind of surveillance. Aren't there other means for us to track where these drones are both coming from and where they're headed to?
So yes, we can use radar to track where they are if there's radar there. So for example, over a military installation, obviously we can track where it comes in and how it goes over the base, what altitude it goes to, all of that stuff, right? And then the military has the capability to take those things down and the authority. However, when it's out flying over to the Verrazano Bridge, if it gets high enough, then our FAA radars will pick it up. If it's down low, then they won't. So it's all about, where that radar is situated and what it's designed to do. In terms of hacking into the drone, though, again, our capabilities on that, I don't want to get into it, but you've got to position those capabilities in the right place. And if one pops up tomorrow in the middle of Kansas, it's not like you can put one of these things on every street corner.
No.
So,
but it would stand to reason that with that technology, you would do it in New Jersey right now. We just spoke to an assemblyman.
Yeah, heck yeah.
We talked to an assemblyman from New Jersey yesterday who indicated to us that his family is seeing these drones every single night, between 1 to a dozen of them every single evening So you've got a target-rich environment for these drones to be intercepted by that very kind of technology.
Yeah, I anticipate that DHS and DOD and everybody's in New Jersey looking for an opportunity right now.
Okay, you anticipate that
I mean,
they are.
and they don't fly. Yeah, and they're not going to tell me where they're deploying on that, and I shouldn't. They shouldn't tell me that. I mean, that should be classified, and they should position themselves in unique places, and I'm pretty confident that they are.
Do you expect?
I will say though that in Tennessee, Mark Green or whomever is going to go out there and shoot the damn thing down with a shotgun.
Yes.
So that's why this is happening in New Jersey and not, Tennessee.
Well, the longer they wait, the higher the likeliness it is that somebody does exactly what you're saying. Because Americans will end up taking it into their own hands if they can't trust their government, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, actually, I love that. I love that impulse of liberty. But Congressman,
hell yeah,
Congressman, do you expect that by this weekend the U.S. government will have a drone in custody and will be able to publicly say that?
Well, they'd have to fly it, and our guys would have to be in the right place and pick it up. Yeah, so I don't want to make predictions on that, but I can tell you I think our guys are positioning themselves to try to get one.
Okay, and then today there was quite a bit of drama over whether or not we knew for sure where these things were coming. New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew had said, both on television as well as on this station on Dan Bongino's radio show, that he had sources telling him that an Iranian mothership may very well have been the source of all of this, that Iran had launched what he referred to as a mothership probably a month ago that contained these drones, and that it is off the east coast of the United States of America. That is something that the Biden administration, the Pentagon today, flatly denied. They said there is no Iranian ship off the coast launching drones. There's no ship off the coast from Iran. Can you clear that up for us?
Well, I can tell you that what's been reported to me was there's no such thing, and I find it very hard to believe that Iran sailed a ship into our waters and launched a bunch of drones. Because remember, these things, the smaller drones, now some of these are actually bigger, the size of a desk, but I mean, these smaller drones have a very short range. So I just can't imagine that Iran sailed a ship in here and launched a bunch of drones. Now, and DOD is saying that's not the case. So but I don't know who's talking to Van Drew, and maybe I'll capture him talk to him this afternoon when we vote. But that doesn't seem viable to me.
Okay, it doesn't pass the smell test for you. Now,
No.
Now, if the government is currently in a position where they're ready to stage operations to catch one of these drones, that suggests to me that these are not U.S. government property. Is that your understanding?
That's right. To my understanding, these are not U.S. government drones. They're not any local drone law enforcement drones. They're not. I mean, there is a question mark about where these are coming from. Now, I will tell you that some of the sightings that were drones turned out to be small aircraft. Some of the sightings turned out to be drones that people knew about. So they have through process of elimination found many of these sightings. There were 3,000, I think, different videos sent on what's happening in New Jersey. And I got this in a briefing this morning. A good number of those have been determined to have legitimate legal purposes, and some were actually manned aircraft. So, but there's a number that we don't know the answer to. And so hopefully they get one, they find out who's doing this, and they find those individuals and hold them accountable.
Congressman, are drones of this size required to file flight plans or any notification to, say, the FAA? In other words, are the drones that we are witnessing, the legitimately suspicious ones that are up in the air, are they failing to meet requirements of the United States?
There are federal laws that say where and when drones can be in the air. I don't know that there's a flight plan requirement on drones of this size. I'd have to go and look it up. But, for example, you can't be above X number of feet within X number of miles from an airport. Right? Those are laws that are federal laws. And states actually put further constraints on those. I know when I was a Tennessee state legislator, we put requirements that you can't fly them over, football fields or football, events or public events or anything like that. So each state has its requirements, and then the federal government, the FAA, has its requirements.
Do you think that it's irresponsible for these public officials to keep coming out and saying that they're not concerned at all about public safety here? I realize, as you put it earlier, this is a matter of a word game that they're playing, that they haven't yet seen evidence that it's a threat to public safety. But it does feel, to me, it feels irresponsible to make statements like that when apparently nobody actually knows what they're dealing with.
Yeah, I think that's what they should say is we don't know, but this is what we're doing, and be forthcoming with what you're doing to try to figure it out. And, you don't want to create panic because at most it's probably, and again, I'm, speculating here because I don't have these things, but it's reconnaissance of some kind, right? So some kind of espionage or reconnaissance if it's nefarious. But we get drones at NFL football stadiums all the time that fly in. They just want, and they interrupt the game, and they just want that great shot,
yes.
Right? But what the NFL's worried about is when that's a terrorist, right? So that's the purpose of this bill I'm putting together, to give the local authorities the ability to stop that from happening. So hopefully we can get everybody up here on board this bill. It unfortunately had to go through 3 different committees because it's 3 different jurisdictions.
Yes.
It's in its last committee now. But, these are the kinds of things we don't know, and we should just say what we don't know, and
Sure.
This is what we're doing to try to stop it.
And in the NFL example, absent a terrorist attack, God forbid, those are looky-loos. Those are people who just want an image. But here over in New Jersey,
exactly.
You've got dozens upon dozens each night of these massive, as you put it, desk-sized drones that are not even available to hobbyists, that are flying up in the sky and no clear answers on what they are. Do you have any reason to rule out that it's an adversarial or a foreign government?
No, you can't rule that out. The Chinese guy who was arrested in California proves that that's a modus operandi.
Definitely.
And we had a spy balloon fly over the entire country filming. So, clearly the Chinese are all about getting as much intelligence as they can.
Finally, Congressman, in the briefings that you've been receiving, do you have any sense of how seriously the Biden administration is actually taking this? Again, this has been weeks in the making. This has been going on, and we've heard very little up until this week, really. Do you think the Biden administration is taking this seriously?
I would tell you that the people that I've spoken with at the DOD level, DOJ level, DHS level are all very seriously trying to get to the bottom of it. I can't tell you if that's coming from the top of the organization or not. But these people who, swore oaths to defend the Constitution and defend the country are working very hard to get to the bottom of this.
All right. That sounds good. I hope they do. Congressman Mark Green, I'm grateful for your time. And by the way, being a great congressional guest who actually answers questions. I really appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Vince. And beat Navy.
There you go.